I trusted my brother with everything, but he stole from me and tried to destroy my business. I've spent my entire life building this business, pouring my heart and soul into it. I went from scraping by, barely paying rent and eating ramen, to owning a successful tech company. It wasn't easy, but I was determined to make it work, for me and for my future. But there was always one thing I couldn't control, my brother, Max. Max and I have always had a complicated relationship. Growing up, I was the golden child. I worked hard, got good grades, and always did what was expected of me. Max, on the other hand, was the rebellious one. He struggled in school, had a temper, and never seemed to care about the future. He always looked at me like I had everything handed to me, even though that couldn't have been further from the truth. The truth is, I helped him out, every time. When I made my first big break with the company, Max was still living with our parents, unsure of what he wanted to do. I offered him a job, simple office work at first, just to get him on his feet. But over time, as the company grew, I brought him on as a partner. I trusted him. He was my brother, after all. But lately, something didn't feel right. I couldn't put my finger on it, but there was tension between us that I couldn't ignore. It wasn't just the usual sibling rivalry, it was something deeper. Something I couldn't ignore. One night, I was going through the company's financials, just a routine check, when I stumbled upon something that made my stomach turn. There was a wire transfer, a large sum of money, from the company's account to an offshore account under Max's name. My heart sank. I confronted him the next day. He seemed caught off guard, but not surprised. Max tried to play it off, giving me some excuse about a personal investment. But I wasn't buying it. I could feel the weight of the truth in my chest, and it hit me hard. My own brother was stealing from me. Max, what is this? I asked, showing him the financial records. He looked at me with that same cocky grin he always had, but there was a coldness behind his eyes I hadn't seen before. Relax, it's not what you think. I could feel my anger rising, but I kept my composure. Then tell me what I'm looking at. Tell me how this isn't a problem. He shrugged. You know how business works, man. Sometimes, you need to make moves behind the scenes. This isn't some small change. It's what's going to set us up for the future. The future? I couldn't believe my ears. You're stealing from your own family, Max. For a moment, there was silence. Then, he finally spoke, his voice low and cold. It's not just about the money, bro. You wouldn't understand. I stared at him in disbelief. What the hell are you talking about? Max smirked, his eyes gleaming with something dark. I'm talking about power. About taking control of what's mine. You've always had the upper hand. You've always had everything. It's my turn now. The words hit me like a punch to the gut. I had trusted him, given him opportunities, treated him like family. And this is what I got in return. Update 2. The day after that confrontation, I couldn't focus. I barely slept, running through all the possibilities in my mind. Was he bluffing? Or was this really about more than just money? I couldn't shake the feeling that this was bigger than just a betrayal, it was personal. Max had always felt like he was in my shadow, but this was something different. I tried to reach out to our accountant the next morning, but Max had already intercepted the information. When I called to verify the wire transfer, they told me that the transaction had been cleared under the guise of company investments, exactly what Max had claimed. But I knew that wasn't the truth. The details were too sketchy, and I didn't recognize the name of the company receiving the funds. This was no personal investment. I decided to dig deeper, pulling up more financial records and even hiring a private investigator to track the offshore account. I was determined to find out where the money was going and how much he had actually taken. But there was one thing I knew for sure: if I didn't act fast, I could lose everything I'd worked so hard for. Later that day, Max invited me out for a drink. I was skeptical, but I knew he was trying to control the situation, trying to make me think everything was fine. I agreed to meet him at a local bar, hoping I could get some answers. He was already sitting at the bar when I arrived, leaning back in his chair with a relaxed expression. It was like nothing had happened the day before. His demeanor was calm, almost too calm. "You all right?" he asked as I took a seat beside him, sliding a beer in my direction. "Cut the act, Max." "I know what you did," I said, my voice low. Max just smiled. "I told you, you wouldn't understand. I'm doing this for both of us. You're not doing anything for me. You're stealing from me, from the company, from everything I've built." He took a long sip from his glass before responding. "I'm not stealing. I'm securing our future. You're too caught up in what's right in front of you. This is bigger than what you can see." I leaned in, my patience wearing thin. "If this is really for us, why are you hiding it? Why lie about everything?" Max leaned forward too, his voice dropping to a whisper. "Because you'll never let me have a share of what's mine. I've always been in your shadow, and I'm tired of it. You've made me feel small, even when I worked just as hard as you. This is my chance to take control. I'm not letting you stand in my way anymore." I stared at him, trying to process his words. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My own brother, the one I had trusted, the one I had helped build a future for, was plotting to tear it all down. And it wasn't just about the money, it was about power, resentment, and a need to destroy everything I had worked for. "You'll regret this," I finally said, my voice shaking with anger. Max just smirked. "Maybe, but I doubt it. You're too predictable. You'll do what you always do, try to fix everything and pretend it's not as bad as it is. But it's already too late." That was when I realized the depth of what I was dealing with. Max wasn't just some guy trying to get rich quick, he was playing a dangerous game, one that could ruin everything I had spent years building. Update 3. The next few days felt like a blur. I couldn't focus on work, my mind was consumed with thoughts of Max and his betrayal. I knew I had to act fast, but part of me was still trying to understand what had happened. Why would Max do this? Was it really just about money, or was there something deeper, something I wasn't seeing? I called a meeting with my legal team, determined to get ahead of whatever Max was planning. We went over the records, analyzed the offshore account, and started to piece together a plan. The more we dug, the worse it looked. Max had been siphoning money from the company for months. Small amounts at first, just enough to go unnoticed, but then it escalated. The sums were larger now, and he'd been using the company's own funds to cover his tracks. It was clear he had no intention of stopping. I decided to confront him again. This time, it was going to be different. I wasn't going to let him get away with this. Max had been avoiding me since our last conversation, but I knew where he'd be that night, at our old bar, the one we used to go to when we were younger. I made my way there, my heart pounding in my chest. This wasn't just about the company anymore, it was personal. Max had crossed a line, and I wasn't going to back down. When I walked in, I spotted him immediately. He was sitting in the corner, looking relaxed, as if nothing had happened. He hadn't changed at all. I took a deep breath and walked over to him. He looked up, his smirk appearing before he even said anything. "Back for more, huh?" Max said, his voice casual. "No, Max. I'm here to end this," I said firmly. He raised an eyebrow. "End it? You're still acting like you have control. You think you can stop me now?" I sat down across from him, staring him down. "You've been stealing from me, stealing from the company. And you thought I wouldn't find out? You've been lying to me for months." Max shrugged, his smirk never fading. "You're too predictable. I knew you'd eventually catch on, but by then, it'd be too late." I clenched my fists, trying to control my temper. "It's not too late, Max. I've got the proof. You've been taking money from the company. And I'm not going to let you destroy everything I've worked for. He leaned back in his chair, his eyes cold. You're acting like I'm some kind of villain. All I've done is what I had to do. You've had your shot. Now it's mine. His words hit me like a slap. My own brother, someone I thought I could trust, was trying to tear everything down just to build himself up. I had no idea how far he'd go, but I knew one thing for sure, he wasn't going to get away with it. I'm shutting you down, Max, I said, my voice steady despite the rage building inside me. I'll expose everything. I'll take legal action if I have to. Max's face twisted in anger. You think you can do that? You really think you can stop me? I already have, I said, standing up. You're done. Max's expression faltered for a split second, but then he laughed. You have no idea what you're dealing with, bro. You think I'm the only one who's playing this game? I froze. What was he talking about? Who else was involved in this? I've already made my move. And now, you're going to have to deal with the consequences, Max said, his grin widening. I didn't know what he meant, but I was more determined than ever to put an end to it. He'd crossed a line, and now I was going to fight back in ways he couldn't imagine. Update 4. Hey Redditors, it's the final update. After that night, I didn't hear from Max for a while. He disappeared, no calls, no texts, nothing. I figured he was trying to lay low, but I knew it wasn't over. It couldn't be. Max wasn't the type to back down so easily. I had taken legal steps to freeze his access to the company's funds, but I knew that wouldn't stop him for long. He had already shown me what he was capable of, and I had no idea what his next move would be. A week passed, and just as I was starting to feel a little bit of relief, the worst happened. I got a call late one night from my lawyer. Apparently, Max had sold off a portion of his shares in the company to an unknown third party. The deal was shady, no formal paperwork, no approvals, just a quick exchange. My stomach dropped when I heard the news. Max was trying to take the company down from the inside. And the worst part was, he had found someone willing to back him. I didn't know how deep the conspiracy went, but I knew one thing for sure, this wasn't just a family betrayal anymore. This was a fight for control. I immediately contacted the rest of the board members and informed them of Max's actions. It wasn't long before a full-blown investigation was launched. We traced the third-party buyer, but it led us to a company that had connections with some of our competitors, companies that had been eyeing our business for years. It all started to make sense now. Max wasn't just after money, he was trying to sell me out, and I was the one who had been too blind to see it. With the help of my legal team, we began preparing for a hostile takeover battle. It was going to get ugly. The board was on my side, but I knew Max would pull every dirty trick he could to stay in the game. A week after that, Max reached out. He wanted to meet, said he had something important to discuss. I agreed to meet him, knowing it was probably going to be another round of threats and empty promises. But I wasn't afraid anymore. When I showed up at the meeting spot, I found him sitting at a cafe, looking relaxed as usual. His cocky grin was back in full force. You really think you can take me down, huh? He said, eyeing me like I was beneath him. You think you've got the power now? I took a seat across from him, meeting his gaze. You've lost, Max. The board's on my side, the company's mine, and you're out. You can keep playing your games, but you've already lost. Max laughed. It's not over yet. You don't know what I'm capable of. I've already got my next move lined up. You think this is the end? It is, I said. You made your move, and now it's over. You can either walk away quietly, or we'll let the legal system handle it. But one way or another, you're done. He stood up, slamming his hands on the table. You've got no idea how much damage I've done. No idea how much you'll regret this. I stood up, too, staring him down. I'm done with you, Max. You're not the threat you think you are. You're just a desperate man trying to bring everyone down with you. He didn't say another word. He just walked out, leaving me to deal with the aftermath. But this time, I knew I was in control. I'm still rebuilding, still picking up the pieces, but I know I've got the strength to keep going. The road ahead won't be easy, but I've learned a lot through this mess, and I'm determined to come out even stronger. Thanks again to all of you for your support. Stay strong out there. What do you think? Tell us in the comments. Like the video and hit the subscribe button for more Reddit stories.